Hi guys, it is April from Getting Hookah With It. Today I'm here to talk to you about books that either I was disappointed by and a book that I thought really did better, or books that I think a lot of you have shown disappointment in, and suggestions for books that might do you right instead. Does that make sense? Let's just get into it. If you like this video, please hit the like button. It really supports my channel, and also subscribe. Okay, let's dive right in. I want to chat about books that have either disappointed me and then I found something that's like worked in the way that I wanted the other book to work. And I'm also talking about books that I think some of you guys have mentioned just didn't work for you, and books that I think might work for you instead. Let's dive in. The first one I want to talk to you about is a book that I actually really liked. It's The Perfect Nanny by Leila Slimani. This is about a nanny who you discover right away the children are dead. She has two children that she takes care of. They are both dead. And we discover what happened. It's this slow burn book. Very slow. You get the dynamics between her and the children, the dynamics between her and the people that she works for, the couple that she works for. This is about class and depression, and really it's about class and what poverty can do to people. I thought it was beautifully written. I think this is a literary thriller, and I think that is where a lot of people were like, this is not working for me, because I think what happens a lot of the time is people pick up things like this. It was a big, huge book, you know, got a lot of marketing and stuff, and got a lot of buzz. And I think people pick it up and are like, okay, this will be like a great beach read. I don't think this is a great beach read at all. It's very literary. It has a lot of statements about society and as I said, class. And so I think that's why a lot of people have been disappointed by this one, because you're picking it up thinking it's one thing and it becomes another thing. So I get that. I still ended up really liking it, but this is years later after it came out, knowing that it was literary. So I get why so many people struggled with this. So I think if you liked the idea of this, if you read the back of this and got excited and you wanted a thriller about a nanny and things going wrong, I think you should read Blood Wedding instead. This one I think will really get you excited. This is very twisty-turny. It is bloody, hence the name. And I should mention what this is about. We follow Sophie, and she's a nanny, but she's a forgetful nanny. Now, this plays with that idea of like forgetting and unreliable narrator and all of those things. It plays with that, but that's also twisty. And it does it really right. So this woman will like forget where she parked her car and stuff like that. And then she'll just find it like 2 streets down. She's like, oh, I'm so forgetful. Maybe go to a doctor if that's happening to you, right? And maybe don't take care of a young boy. In any case, she finds this young boy strangled to death. She thinks, oh my God, did I do this? What did I do? Oh my goodness. And she goes on the run. And it is one of the most twisty-turny books I've ever read. It does not get enough hype whatsoever, and it's fantastic. This is absolutely for those of you who this just didn't do it for you, and you wanted something fast-paced and to be shocked. Here you go. You're welcome. Go and pick up Blood Wedding for sure. Moving right along. Oh, this is kind of for me. So, a little gift to me. So, I read Little Fires Everywhere. I loved this book. I will say this. This is still on my shelves. I gave it 4 stars. And I really loved it. It stuck with me. This is about a woman who moves to a town where everything is kind of perfect. Everyone does well for themselves financially. It's also a town where everyone, you know, are trying to keep up with the Joneses, that kind of town. She moves there. She's a single mom and she has a teenage daughter. And she starts cleaning for this one woman, a neighbor of hers. And their children are friends. Now, what ends up happening in this book, and this isn't a spoiler, but there is a baby that is adopted by a family in this community. Now, this single mother knows the birth mother of this child, and she does not think this is right. She knows that this birth mother was just in a bad place, and she thinks that the baby should be with the birth mother. And it is about this clash between these two women, the single mother and then the mom that the woman that she's working for. And I loved this book because it was so much about the grayness of these complex situations. There's so much gray, and so much of the time people want to take complex situations and make them simplified. Just like, you know, when you have a problem that is very complex to you in your life that you care very deeply about, and someone's just like, oh yeah, well, you just do this, and they think it's easy, and it's not ever easy. I really loved that. What I really struggled with in this book was that I felt in the end that I was being pushed to believe that one of the positions was right and one of the positions was wrong. And I didn't appreciate that, and that's the only reason I gave it 4 stars. Otherwise, it would have been 5 stars. So I left this book kind of going, oh, I almost felt like she missed the point of her book, which is not possible, but I just wanted it to do something different, and I think it would have been a more poignant book if it had done it differently. It also talks about immigration and that issue. Anyway, that's an aside, but not really an aside, because this next book took all of the things that I wanted Little Fires Everywhere to do and did it. I did it in style. Oh my God, Miracle Creek. This book is so unbelievable. I read it early in the year and it has stuck with me, and this might be one of my favorite books of all time. This is about many people. We are meeting this group of people. It's in a courtroom. It's a bit of a courtroom mystery, literary courtroom mystery. These people are all linked because of something called a miracle submarine, and this is a piece of medical equipment that is meant to help all sorts of people, from people with autism to people dealing with infertility. So all of these people every day, sometimes twice a day, go to this miracle submarine, go inside. It's like a heavy dose of oxygen. Some of them are mothers with children with autism. One of them is a man who's dealing with infertility himself. He has I don't think it's low sperm count, it's low sperm motility, and he's being treated for that. And one day the miracle submarine catches fire, several people die, and several people are very much injured. Every chapter we follow a different person involved in this. I should mention the people that own the miracle submarine are people that moved there from Korea and bought this, and we're just trying to get by. So in every single chapter you meet a new person, or one of these people involved in this case, and it is about how each and every person in here is victimized and also victimize other people. They are judged and also judge other people, and it is really what I wanted Little Fires Everywhere to do. You walk away from this book, no one is completely in the right, no one is completely in the wrong, and it really is such a big lesson in you never know what someone else is going through until you're in their shoes. So treat people with kindness. It's just so good. I love this book. If you, like me, struggle a tiny bit with this, even the tiniest bit, I found it fantastic. Oh my gosh, go pick this up. I'll move on. I will move on. Okay, next I want to talk about Our Kind of Cruelty. I don't have this here because I hated it and I passed it along. Our Kind of Cruelty is a thriller. not a like literary thriller, straight up thriller about a man who is stalking his ex. His ex and him used to have a game that they played called Crave. And basically she would go to a bar, they would go to a bar, and she'd like flirt with someone else, and then he'd like beat that person up. And it was this game they played, and then they broke up. She broke up with him, moved on. She's getting married, and he just can't get beyond it. And he thinks that this marriage is now like the new part of the game. It's like taking the game to the next level. And so he stalks her basically, and stalks her fiance. I found this completely ridiculous. The word crave was in here so often, and it was just like, come on. It was just so dumb. I didn't like it. But if you want a book that does have a stalker who is all sorts of creepy and makes you feel uncomfortable to the max, I would definitely recommend You by Carolyn Kepnes. Now, you've probably already read this. It's a series on Netflix. I will say, if you've already watched the series on Netflix, I don't know if I'd go ahead and read the book now, because, well, the cool thing about the book is you are reading from the perspective of Joe, who is the actual stalker. And I think that's so much fun. I really love that. And it was very unique to me that when I read it, which was before the Netflix show. The second series don't really like so much, the second season. Anyway, that's an aside. But I just think You did this stalker thing so much better than our Kind of Cruelty. Like, a million times better. I must say that. So that's another recommendation for you. Next up is probably an obvious one, but I'm gonna mention it anyway. It's An Unwanted Guest by Sherry Lapina. Now, this was the worst book that I read in 2019. I have a whole video about the worst books that I read in 2019. I will link that below for you. But yeah, so An Unwanted Guest, we follow a group of people who've gone to this inn. It's this kind of winter getaway place. You can go snowshoeing and cross-country skiing. It's supposed to be very relaxing. They get there, there's an enormous snowstorm that's come in, and unfortunately they're snowed in with no way to get out or call for help because someone is killed. And then slowly the guests are being killed off. I thought this was terribly written. The clues in here aren't really, you don't have any clues. Like the ending, I was like, how would anyone have guessed that? And that's the point of a thriller, is having fun, trying to play detective and trying to figure out if you can guess. That's the whole point, I think. And this took that away from you, and I don't like that. I also thought it was very badly written. It had every opportunity to be atmospheric, and it did it terribly. But what it did do was reference Agatha Christie repeatedly. And unfortunately, I feel like this whole book should have been, you open it up and it says, instead of having, you know, however many pages this is, how many pages is this? What? 200 and something pages. Instead of having all those pages, it should have been go and buy, and then there were none. That's what it should have done. And then there were none is what this book was trying to be, but this book just did it so right. This is about a group of guests who are invited to a very large home by this one person, and they get there, and slowly but surely all of the guests are being killed off, and they're all interrelated in some way that none of them truly know, and you get to discover that. I loved this book so much. It's one of those books where you'll never forget where you were reading it. At least I don't. I was reading it in the car a lot. It was at someone's wedding, and they have since divorced. But that's neither here nor there. I just loved every second of reading this. It was so much fun. This was my second Agatha Christie. I had read the train one, Murder on the Orient Express, and didn't really like it. So I didn't have a lot of high hopes for Agatha Christie. And then I read this and absolutely adored it. This is one of the best mysteries I've ever read. So yeah, if you struggled with this too, and I know some of you have, because in the comments on my 2019 worst books that I read in that year, this was the worst, and a lot of you said, oh my gosh, I hated that book. Some of you said, I liked it. That's it. If you liked this, go ahead and pick this up, because you'll probably like this too, because it does all of the stuff that that book was trying to do. It just does it 10,000 times better. Moving right along. The last pairing that I have for you is another one probably just from me. Oh, it's kind of from me. It's Severance by Ling Ma. Now, I ended up DNFing this book because it just did not work for me. I wanted it to work so much. This is about a world in which Shen fever has swept the world. Many, many people have died. We're following a woman who lives in New York, and she's kind of stuck around for like probably too long, and she's taken all sorts of pictures of like empty New York, and eventually she meets other survivors and they band together and try to survive. I really struggled with this book because I found it silly. Now, I heard later on that this was meant to be more humorous than anything else, and maybe I just missed something. Maybe I just missed the point of the humor, but I didn't like it. I found the characters to be extremely annoying, like unbelievably annoying. And all I really wanted was like an apocalyptic kind of book. And it just didn't come through for me. So what I would recommend, if you were also disappointed in this, still want an apocalyptic kind of book about an illness taking over. Now this, I realize, is very hard to read about right now with the coronavirus. So maybe not right this second, but it's an interesting premise. So if you struggled with this, I would recommend Station 11. Now, I don't have that here because I mentioned Station 11 in my video that I did with my sister about Canadian literature, and she has since taken it and she's brought it home and she's going to read it. I'm going to link that video below as well. It was so much fun to do that. But Station 11 is everything I wanted this to be. I kind of wanted a do-over for Station 11. I guess I should have just read it again. But in that book, an illness has also killed off so many people. And we meet this little band of people who've come together because they are actors, they are musicians, and they go from settlement to settlement and perform. And we go back and forth in time in this book, and we follow people right as the illness is beginning. And I think we follow the first person to have contracted the illness, and he's on stage performing King Lear. And so we follow when it's happening, which I also find fascinating. I just do. I love that. And then you flash forward to them going to all of these places and how dangerous things are. Sometimes they go to settlements and everyone's quite lovely and they're really appreciative of having this bit of entertainment. And sometimes they go to places that are terrifying, and people are the worst of themselves. And what I like about these kind of books is you explore what is more dangerous, the illness or what happens to people when rules and law vanish. It's just so good. So I definitely would recommend that if you didn't end up really liking Severance like me. So those are all the books that I have to recommend to you today. If you want to, in the comments below, maybe you can kind of do this for us as well, for everyone in our little community. You can talk about a book that you didn't really like and a book that did that so much better. I'd love to see that in the comments below. I hope that you guys are well. I wanted to mention as well, I'm getting much better in the description box. You can go and check out my Amazon wish list. You can go and check out my Goodreads page or my Instagram page. Like, just hang out with me in all of the places. I'd love that. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope this helped you guys a little bit. I will talk with you soon. Bye.